Oh, he's falling on the microphone again. He keeps jumping on that mic.
What is up, everybody, and welcome to the big, gigantic, fat-ass video to cap off, finally, the year that was 2025. If you enjoy a lot of end-of-the-year rankings, I've released 5 of them. I ranked all the horror films of the year. I did my best and worst, of course, and my most surprised and most disappointing. And today, we are ranking every single new release film that I watched in the year 2025, which this year totals out to be 151 movies. Now, every single one of these movies, maybe with the exception of 3 or 4 of them, I have covered at some point during last year on this channel, either with a full review, a ranking, like my month wrap-up video, something like that. And so if there's a movie on here that I breezed past a little bit quickly because we have a lot to get to, and you're wondering what my more in-depth thoughts are, search my channel. Most likely you'll be able to find them. But as I always try to say, and shouldn't have to say, but for some reason do, this is just my ranking. This is my personal preference. This is my movie taste, my movie experiences that are totally unique to myself. So I don't expect anybody on planet Earth to have the same exact ranking of these 151 movies that I do. So hopefully you just enjoy differences of opinions, different perspectives. Let me know if you have the time. Rank your top 10 or however many movies you watched during the 2025 year down in the comment section below. And the last thing that I want to say before getting into all these movies is that I attend a number of film festivals, and so there are going to be a handful of films that were 2025 releases but don't actually go wide where most of you guys can see them until sometime this year, and I have done that the last couple of years. Some people don't agree with that. We all have our different styles. My philosophy is my thoughts are going to be the most fresh and the most fair to these films if I talk about it within the calendar year that I saw them, and I also think it's more valuable for me to hype up certain movies so that you guys are better able to make some selections in 2026 rather than punt this conversation a full calendar year, and I'm talking about it way after you had your opportunity to check them out. So, 151 movies, let's fucking go! And starting at 151, my least favorite film that I saw last year is one of my least favorite films that I have ever seen since being on YouTube. It premiered at Fantastic Fest this most recent September, and it was called Crushed. This is a movie that goes for animal cruelty and child trafficking, pedophilia, like all the subject matter this movie dives into is basically a checklist of all the things that I really don't want to spend my time watching. And it's not even a well put together film. It's a movie that is intentionally trying to elicit some very guttural reactions out of you in the most gross and manipulative way possible, and then completely deprives you of any sort of solace or relief later on in the story for the sole purpose of pointing at you as the viewer and saying, shame on you for wanting bad people to have bad things happen to them. Coming in at 150 is a film that's probably going to be most people's worst of last year, and that is Amazon's War of the Worlds. Now, I actually think a screen life version of War of the Worlds could have been really cool. This absolutely is not it. This was a film that was cobbled together during COVID, and it absolutely shows, and it's not an excuse for how poorly put together this movie is and how absolutely insulting it is. When you have a film where alien beings are taking over planet Earth and Amazon's Prime delivery service saves the world, go fuck yourself. 149 this year's Blumhouse blunder, The Woman in the Yard, a movie that for the most part is just kind of dull and uninteresting, but ultimately what the movie ends up being about in the third act really was distasteful for me, and the way that they decided to be ambiguous and really nondescript with how they executed the things they wanted to talk about, I feel like was the worst possible way to discuss the subject of The Woman in the Yard. 148, we got The Strangers Chapter 2. Last year, Strangers Chapter 1, or was that 2 years ago? Whatever fucking year that came out, that was in my bottom 5, and now we're here again, a movie that takes what could have been a 5 or 10 minute chase sequence in any other slasher film and decides to make a 90-minute story out of it, where quite literally nothing happens. The only thing that's accomplished by the end of this film is giving you an answer that nobody was fucking asking for, and we still have one more movie to go in this godforsaken trilogy, and I'm already hearing words that they're doing a 4th film. Number 147 is Trust. This is a movie that starts off with some interesting setup and ideas that go absolutely nowhere, and it just becomes a very long and boring movie of Sophie Turner stuck in a utility closet and trying to escape. Not only was it frustrating and very bizarre to abandon all the things that were actually interesting in the first act of this film, but this movie has some of the most abysmal logic gaps you have ever seen. 146, we have Kinda Pregnant, pretty much the embodiment of what I hate about modern comedies. It's not funny, it's trying to be edgy in all of the wrong ways. Amy Schumer, while not being somebody that I hate personally, is somebody that I just don't understand the appeal for, have never found her to be a good actress or a funny comedian. This thing didn't hit on any level. 145, we got Happy Gilmore 2, a movie that I was pretty sure I wasn't going to like, but I was pretty shocked at how bad it actually was. I love Adam Sandler with my entire fucking heart, and he will never be able to make a film that changes that, but Happy Gilmore is one of my favorite films of his. There was no reason why we should have ever made a sequel to one of the Adam Sandler classics or a cash grab cheap Netflix sequel. Everything this movie represents, just like with Kinda Pregnant, is things that I hate about modern comedy filmmaking. Cheap jokes that are recycled 1,000 times, useless cameos, and constant callbacks to the previous film, which is significantly better. Number 144, we got Fear Street Prom Queen. I did enjoy the trilogy from a few years back. Was very surprised it took them so long to capitalize on that success with a fourth film. And then after seeing the film, I thought, damn, maybe they should have took a couple of more years. This is one of the most lazy and generic slashers I've ever seen, and it also has some of the most lazy and generic attempts at 80s nostalgia, which honestly at this point, I'm getting really burnt out on. 143, we got Borderline. For me, this is the first time that we have had a genuine miss from Samara Weaving. Ray Nicholson is great. I think he's going to go on to do some awesome things. And of course, Samara Weaving's going to continue to be my screen queen, but this is just a very odd and bizarre movie that I don't think gets the tension right. I don't think gets the comedy right. And by the end of it, just felt like a humongous waste of two massive talents. 142, we got Flight Risk. Say what you will about Mel Gibson, but the guy makes some fucking incredible movies. Except for this one. I don't for the life of me understand how the hell this came from with Mel Gibson. Obviously, he just cashed a check. He needed a quick job. This is the most blatant example of director for hire I think I've ever seen. I really hope that it would be like a so bad that it's good, guilty pleasure, throwback type of thriller with Mark Wahlberg with a shaved head, just acting absolutely maniacal. But even he feels like he has wasted his efforts on an absolutely abysmal movie. Number 141 is Ash. Now, this is a movie that I didn't think was very good, but it also had the added pain of being a movie that really gave me motion sickness and made me feel physically ill while watching it. I understand that's something that maybe not everybody that watched it at home experienced, but being in the front row at the Paramount Theater during the world premiere of this was just not a good experience. But taking that away from it, this is a film that just wears all of its influences on its sleeve, and I didn't feel like it did really anything interesting or new or unique with any of it. It's a little bit The Thing, it's a little bit Mass Effect, it's a little bit Dead Space, which I should be able to appreciate, but I just didn't with this one. Number 140, we got Jimmy and Stiggs, a movie that I absolutely love its existence, totally champion what it represents for DIY horror filmmaking, and I would watch a documentary on how this movie was made in a fucking heartbeat. But the end result is a movie that I really didn't enjoy all that much. All the effort that the director put into making all this himself, doing all the practical effects himself, dressing up his apartment to be multiple sets, and filming this film over 4 years, like, that is amazing to me. But the characters, the dialogue, and how long this movie felt for such a small, short film style concept, it was a rough experience. Number 139 is The Home. This is an American horror film with Pete Davidson that takes place at a retirement home where he's like a janitor, starts to discover there's some really weird shit going on. It's a very dull and bizarre film where Pete Davidson might be a nice guy, but just does not have the acting caliber to be able to carry a film like this yet, and ultimately leads to an absolutely bonkers and bloody third act that could have saved the film if the rest of it wasn't so bad. Without that third act, this probably would have been in my bottom 5. 138 is Touch Me. This is a film I saw at South by Southwest back in like March, and it's a very weird and off-kilter horror sci-fi comedy. You have this alien being that any human that mates with it, the touch of like his tentacles and everything gives him like this euphoric experience that is the highest level of euphoria that a human could possibly have. And so there's like an addiction, a codependent relationship type of commentary here, but it's in such a weird film with not a very sharp sense of humor that just repeats the same types of jokes over and over, and also bizarrely is heavily influenced seemingly by like kung fu films, which just feels out of left field. There were moments that this was entertaining, but it just did not hit for me. Number 137 is Slanted. This is another film I saw at South by Southwest. I think it releases in like March or something like that. And this is